All right, if you are of a certain age, there was a time when the name Mike Tyson would generate millions of dollars from those willing to put up for a pay-per-view fight. And that match would usually last mere seconds, sometimes. Minutes maybe, but mostly in seconds. Tyson had 6 fights that lasted less than a minute, by the way. And you're thinking, I paid how much for what? Well, Iron Mike made it one more trip into the ring as we headed into this weekend. This one lasting the full 8 rounds against Jake Paul. Maybe you saw it, because a lot of people did. In case you missed it on Netflix, not many did. 60 million households watched, and the most money wagered in years on a single fight. Tyson, by the way, lost to Paul by unanimous decision. Not much of a fight, many people saying. Didn't last or didn't impress them very much. By the way, before the bout, Idaho State University, they got in on this hype, saying they wanted to honor a true trailblazer. Hayes Edward, Big Ed Sanders, the first black heavyweight Olympic gold medalist. His legacy shattered barriers and forever changed the sport of boxing, they posted their Facebook page, saying, we take immense pride in his groundbreaking journey from Bengal boxer to Olympic glory to shaping sports history. We were actually reminded of this over the summer when we were celebrating Alyssa Mendoza, Idaho's first female Olympic boxer. Steve in Meridian texted us to say, hey, you know what? In 1952, Idaho State College sent a kid named Spiderweb to Finland to compete on the USA Olympic boxing team. So that's another Idaho connection to the Olympics. Back then, we were saying Alyssa was the first boxer to come out of Idaho to go to the Olympics, but that's not true. So we look back into it, I should say, in July, and we learned a lot about Idaho State College boxing, now Idaho State University. How it was a big deal and one of the foundational sports of Idaho State and their all-around coach, Milton "Dubby" Holt. Ellsworth Spider Webb, yes, he did go to the Helsinki Games out of Idaho State in 1952. But so did Big Ed Sanders, the track and field and football star from Watts, California, whose short time in Pocatello was only eclipsed by his Olympic glory, but also by his shortened life because of boxing. By the end of the 1940s, college boxing was undisputed in its ability to draw a crowd, even here in the Pacific Northwest, where the University of Idaho won 3 national titles, the last in 1950. That year, in the other corner of the state, Idaho State College was compiling quite the team itself. That's when legendary Bengal boxing coach Dubby Holt saw Hayes Edward Sanders fight in Utah. Coach Holt quickly recruited the 6'4" fighter to Pocatello. Big Ed, they called him, already the 2-time junior champion, beat the Pacific Coast heavyweight champion in his first fight at Idaho State and never lost a dual meet that first year. But by 1951, with the Korean conflict calling, Big Ed left Idaho State College and joined the Navy, not wanting to be drafted into the Army. On the Navy boxing team, Sanders continued to hone his skills in the sweet science.
The official opening of the 1952 Olympics takes place in Helsinki Stadium.
So much so, when the 1952 Olympics rolled around, Big Ed qualified as a heavyweight while fighting with a broken hand. Getting to the games would prove to be his toughest test because in Helsinki, Ed knocked out his first 3 opponents.
And then the concluding heavyweight final is up to Big Ed Sanders.
And his reputation must have preceded him because in the gold medal match against the Swede,
now he meets Ingemar Johansson of Sweden.
The fight wasn't much of one.
Johansson hugs those ropes, then he hugs Sanders.
The ref had had enough of Johansson just moving around the ring, calling it 3 minutes into the second round.
Finally, Johansson is disqualified for not trying.
But Big Ed Sanders would stand on top of the podium, becoming the first black heavyweight Olympic champion.
Well, he sort of refused to fight. He was mostly running. He wouldn't stand up and fight against you at all? No.
Post-Olympics, Big Ed turned pro, and his career took him to the Northeast. On December 11th, 1954, Big Ed fought his sparring partner for the New England Heavyweight Championship. The 12-round slugfest would be his last, getting knocked to the canvas in the 11th and carried out on a stretcher. Big Ed Sanders would die 19 hours later from a brain injury. His old Idaho State coach called it a tragedy, and Coach Holt called Big Ed a fine athlete, a gentleman, and a credit to the community. Big Ed was just 24 years old when he died. He did meet his wife in Pocatello, the sister of the man who apparently picked him up at the train station in Pocatello. Big Ed and Mary LaRue had a son, Russell, which is why Big Ed wanted to go pro so badly. He wanted to support his family. Big Ed was inducted into the Idaho State College, now University, Hall of Fame in 1959.